kicking off the breakout sessions with a presentation from I want to make sure I get it right. Nilima Arakala, who is a technical marketing engineer at Cisco and has traveled to us from Texas. Her session is called Scrape the CLI, Getting Started with Scrapli and its flavors Scrapli-Netconf and Nornir-Scrapli. This is Nilima's first time presenting at NANOG, and it's a pleasure. Second time? Oh, sorry, second time. She's like famous around here, basically. And it's a pleasure to have her speaking with us today. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Well, thanks for joining the session and happy to see you all. I know it's a session just after the lunch, so I'm not going to bombard you with any complicated topics. It's going to be very simple, and I'm just going to keep it simple and clear. And after this session, you should be able to just write a code in Scrapli, using Scrapli, okay? Well, so as you know, I'm Nilima. I'm a technical marketing engineer at Cisco. I see you use network devices in your day-to-day life. And how many of you are pro in CLI commands? Can you raise your hands? Okay, cool. That's great. Okay. So I know it's not easy to just go log into each and every device and type in the CLI command, get the information or retrieve the information, the configuration details from the device. It's tedious, right? So for all of you, this is one of the solutions where you can use those CLIs and use Scrapli programmatically and retrieve the data or push data into the devices. So if you're not good with CLI commands, then still you can go ahead and explore Scrapli-Netconf, where if you're good with YANG models, then you can just go ahead and use Scrapli-Netconf. It is it uses netconf to connect to the device and communicate with it using YANG models. So what we are going to learn in this session is what, why, and how about Scrapli, how it works, what are all the different flavors it provides to you, and some of the important flavors are Scrapli-Netconf and Nornir-Scrapli. And then finally, I'm going to give you a demo on how to write the code and execute it. So our main focus is going to be the demo. It would be great if you just come to the front seat and sit so that it'll be easy for you to check out the code. It's up to you. Well, so what is Scrapli? Scrapli is an open source network automation tool which allows you to connect to the network device, the routers, switches, etc. and using SSH or Telnet or Netconf, either asynchronously or synchronously, and retrieve the configuration from the devices or push the configuration to the devices or do the configuration validation. So basically this is an open source tool and it provides a multi-vendor support called vendors like iOS-XE, iOS, NXOS, JunOS, Arista EOS. So why is it important? The main reason is it's an open source tool where it is managed by 18 contributors. They have done 7 releases and with 253 commits. So it's free, so why not? Why can't we go and just go ahead and try? I understand there are different other network automation tools, but the main advantage of this tool is it's simple to use. Like it's too easy to install. Just to pip install Scrapli, and then it's a very lightweight tool. It just takes less time and less memory to have it in your system. And it has an active community with different people from different origins who help you out if you have any issues, and it's an open source, so you can always customize it based on your own requirement, and it has well-maintained documentation. It's completely written in Python. If you're not good with Python, you can always use Scrapli Go, which is completely written in Go. So in order to use Scrapli, you can either write a Python file or a Python script or a Go script. So you can use any of these languages based on your comfort to perform tasks on your network devices. And just do one install, do pip install, and then configure multiple operating systems in your field. What are the main advantages of Scrapli is it's lightweight. That is, as I said, it takes less time to install it, and it uses less memory. And the main advantage is it uses async IO. That is, who all know about Nornir? Who have used? Okay. Yeah, so Nornir is a framework which uses multi-threading. Multi-threading is, in order to perform tasks concurrently, it uses multi-threads. Like, let's say if you're connecting to 4 devices, it uses 4 threads to connect simultaneously to all the 4 devices at a time, concurrently. Similarly, Scrapli uses async IO. That means it doesn't use threading, but it uses coroutines. Async IO works based on the concept called coroutines, where it doesn't use thread, but it comes up with a code logic which does a event, which has the event loop running in the background, and it manages the scheduling of these tasks so that they run again in a concurrent manner. So what is the advantage of async IO is it doesn't require resources, whereas when you use threads, it requires resources. They run independently, so they have their own resources for threads, but whereas with async IO, it doesn't need those resources. And the other advantage is it uses threads, but you have to, with threads, you have to actually provide how many threads you want to create, and it's easy to write the code using threads to do the tasks concurrently, but whereas async IO, it's a bit complicated to write the code, but then usage is easy. Whereas with threads, writing the code is easy, but then usage is a little complicated. It will be more efficient if you have multiple CPUs, but if you doesn't have multiple CPUs, then you will have some synchronization issues with threads. Whereas with async IO, you don't have those issues. So that's the main benefit of using Scrapli. And as I said, it has Scrapli Go. So you can always go ahead and use Scrapli Go if you're good with Go language. And it has flexible transport where it can either use SSH, Telnet, or Netconf, either in a synchronous manner or in an asynchronous manner. So for that, you also have async SSH, async Telnet, async Netconf drivers to connect to the device in an asynchronous way. And then we have different flavors, as I said, Netconf, Scrapli-Netconf, Nornir. So Scrapli flavors is nothing but the extensions of Scrapli. And as I said, it can be executed synchronously or asynchronously, and it also has these parsing extensions where the output which is retrieved from the Scrapli script can be parsed using Genie or text FSM, etc. So how does it work? It works based on the interface called driver. So, and these drivers include all different vendors' drivers. I just included a few of the drivers here, but it can also use JunOS, Arista EOS, etc. So you have to basically import these drivers from the Scrapli package and then provide the transport information through which it can connect to the network devices, either SSH, Telnet, Netconf, or you can also use Paramico, etc. And then you just connect to the device in a synchronous way and retrieve the information from the network devices. What all can we do with Scrapli is we can do backups, just retrieve data from the device, running configuration, candidate configuration via SSH or netconf, either in a structured manner or in a unstructured manner. And we can push information, either we can merge the changes to the device or replace the configuration and retrieve the configuration and do the validation between the just basically getting the telemetry and checking if everything is working fine on the network device or not. So these are all the different Scrapli flavors we have. That is Scrapli-Netconf, which allows you to connect to the network devices through the Netconf protocol. And we have Nornir-Scrapli, where you're basically using Nornir framework with Scrapli. That means the advantage is Nornir gives you inventory management that is not available with Scrapli. It helps you to connect in asynchronous way in different transport methods, but it doesn't have those inventory management techniques with Scrapli. So that is where it combines with Nornir to utilize those features from Nornir. And it has Scrapli community where you can just go and check it out. I do have a blog written on this, so you can finally check that blog, and it has all the links to these Scrapli flavors. You can go get into it and check what all you can do with these flavors. But currently I'm just giving you a quick overview of what it is. So Scrapli community helps you to come up with a new driver. Let's say there are some drivers and you have some new device, new operating system, or new router or new device. Then if you don't have that support for that specific operating system, then you can go ahead and create a new driver and develop on top of it based on your requirement. And it has Scrapli Replay, which helps you to do testing. You can actually test all the Scrapli APIs and keep it in your system just to check if everything is working fine, just in case if you don't have the device with you. And you have Scrapli config, which helps you to do merge and replace configuration on the devices. And you have Scrapli stubs, where you can create some stubs in order to perform tasks on the network devices. And also async SSH, where you can connect to the network device in an asynchronous manner using SSH, or you can also use SSH 2 version in order to connect to the network device. Similarly, we have Scrapli Paramico and Telnet library 3 in order to connect to the network devices using those protocols. And we have Scrapli Go. And we have SR Linux Scrapli, that is which supports Scrapli on SR Linux operating system. And it has these other flavors called Scrapli TTP, Genie, Text, FSM, etc., which helps you to get the output from the device and convert those output in a structured manner using these other extensions. Well, now we understood what is Scrapli, how it works. Now let's understand how the Scrapli-Netconf works, like what it is. It basically helps you to connect to the network device using Netconf protocol and utilize all those APIs provided by Netconf, like edit config, commit config, replace, or get config, etc. So So these are the benefits of Scrapli-Netconf. It basically built on top of Scrapli. It's basically a Python package. You can just do pip install Scrapli-Netconf or pip install Scrapli, or if you're using async SSH, just do pip install async SSH. It's as simple as that. And the next one is Nornir-Scrapli. So what is Nornir-Scrapli is it's an extension of Scrapli. As I said, it makes it utilizes those features of Nornir in order to manage the inventory of the network devices to which the Scrapli is connecting to. So basically, Nornir provides the inventory management feature where you can just have all those network device information in a file in a inventory folder, and then you have a config file which reads all those inventory details and then executes the task on those details on those devices. So currently, the Scrapli Nornir doesn't support async IO as it is multi-threaded, but you can always use the inventory management feature from Nornir. So now let's see how you can write the code in order to use these Scrapli, these Python packages called Scrapli, Scrapli-Netconf and Nornir-Scrapli. In order to just keep your environment independent of other work you're doing, just create a virtual environment in your system using virtual env. Just install that and then create a virtual environment. And then I'm connecting to the virtual environment to Scrapli environment, and I'm using a Python version called 3.6, and you can see pip list. And I'm doing a grep on what all packages I've installed related to Scrapli. You can see it has Nornir-Scrapli, Scrapli, CFG community, and netconf. So these all can be installed just using pip install, just one command. It's as simple as that. And if you want to use Nornir utils, you can always go ahead and do the pip install. And if you're using async SSH, async SSH2, then just install them again using pip install. So you can see I have async SSH. So now let's see how to write the code. Initially, let's say you don't know which driver you have, which driver you want to use, then you can go ahead and use the generic driver which Scrapli has. You can just import it from Scrapli driver. It's called generic driver. And then I just put these filtering warnings so that I don't get any warnings. That's why I just imported warnings and filter warnings and ignored. And just provide the device information and call the generic driver, call the device and open the device. And I'm actually sending command saying show host name or show version, etc. When I'm executing it, you can see I have retrieved the host name, version information. So it's a very only few lines of code you write and you can retrieve the data, and you can make it as complicated as possible as well. It depends on what is your requirement. Here I'm using IOS-XE driver, importing it from Scrapli driver core, and then having a device dictionary. And okay, I can give you the details in the next script though. But so here I'm basically using the specific driver in order to retrieve the interfaces summary. So this is the interfaces summary information coming from the network device, IOS-XE router. Here I'm actually running retrieving a version from multiple devices. So I have two devices with the dictionary, host name, username, password, And authentication strict key is false because I'm not using any key. And port number is 22 because we are connecting using SSH. And you can see I'm calling IOS-XE network driver. Can I stop? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I messed it up, I guess. Oh.
People in the back if you need help.
Yeah, actually, can you just play the video, if you don't mind? Can you just remove this and play the video and just keep it in the middle? I mean, okay. Can you just drag it? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Can you just go back a little bit? Yes, yeah, a little bit back. Yeah, thank you. Yes, this is good. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry about that. So here I'm calling IOS-XE driver from the device. Can you just stop it over there? I just want to explain you the steps. Thank you. So here I'm actually having two dictionaries with the network device information, hostname, username, password, and SSH as the port. That is the port number 22. And then I'm using IOS-XE driver and connecting to the device. Just open the device from here, from con.open, and then get the prompt from the device and just send CLI command, con.send command, show version, and just close the connection. Now you are retrieving the prompt result and version result. So that is the gather version function. And in the main, you see we are actually looping onto the device list and retrieving every device information and calling the gather version API. So we are basically returning the output of every device configuration information which we are retrieving from the device. Just go ahead. Yeah, you can play it. Thank you. So I'm actually executing this synchronous execution of show version of two devices, and you can see what is the time it is taking. It has retrieved the version of router 1 and router 2, and it takes around 9 seconds to retrieve this information from these two devices. Now let's get into asynchronous way of retrieving the information. So here I have again the IOS-XE device 1, device 2 with the authentication details, and I'm using async IOS-XE driver, and transport is async SSH. So here we always use async as starting of any API because they have to execute asynchronously, and we do await for every task we are performing. Either we get the prompt or do the show version. So it's the same process like sync, but then you have to await every task you perform using asynchronous way of executing the task. You can see it took just 5 seconds when compared to the synchronous way of execution. So that is the difference between synchronous and asynchronous. And if you use a lot of devices, then you can see a major difference in the execution of the task. Now we are going to use Nornir-Scrapli, and it has inventory. As I said, the main advantage of Nornir-Scrapli is managing the inventory, that is the device information in hosts, group, and defaults. Those who all know Nornir, so you should be able to understand how this inventory works. It has host information and the platform information in a separate file, and the passwords in a defaults file. Then you have a config file which calls all these inventory files from the inventory folder, and it also sets up the threads, how many threads you're going to use in the configuration file. So here we have config.yaml, and I'm calling all those inventory details, and here you see number of workers is 2. That means I'm actually using 2 threads to execute tasks on 2 devices. So we have send command and edit config. We can either send, that is retrieve information from the device. Here you see I'm importing init Nornir from Nornir, and send command from Nornir-Scrapli task. So you should also install do pip install Nornir-Scrapli and initiate the Nornir and do send command from to the device and retrieve the information. So you get the show version of 2 network devices, which actually got the information of the devices from the inventory files and executed it accordingly. Similarly, here to edit the config, you can just provide the configuration details which you want to edit, and then send it to the device and print the result if the configuration failed or applied successfully. So when you execute it, it says that execute it and just go and check into the router and see if the configuration is applied successfully or not. Now let's quickly understand how netconf works. It again works in a similar manner, just that it uses netconf driver in order to connect to the device, and it works on port 830. So here I'm importing netconf driver, and with netconf driver I'm connecting to the device and getting the running configuration from the device. Similarly, here I'm doing edit configuration, and this is a configuration. It's in YANG models. It uses YANG models. And here I'm actually creating the netconf driver, connecting to the device, locking the candidate configuration, and sending that configuration into edit config. These are all the APIs of netconf. Then commit the configuration and just unlock the connection, unlock the device, and just close the device. Similarly, we can also use async netconf driver in order to do the configuration on multiple network devices. Just that you have to just append async for all the APIs which we are using and await for every task that is performed in the process. So here you see async IO get event loop. So that is the event loop which always runs continuously in order to schedule these tasks in a concurrent way or asynchronously. Okay, you can go to the last. I'm almost done. So you can actually check out the resources which I have. It has clear details. You can just copy the code and just execute it in your local. Just install the requirements, and all those information is given in the blog. And you can check out all this documentation given the resources part, and you can just get started. So it's simple. Yes, and thank you so much for joining the session. If you have any questions, I can help you out. Yeah, thank you.